Story time about how I saw my best friend's dad on a date with our ex-friend. My best friend Alex and I are both 17 years old. When we were younger, around 11 to 12 years old, we had a friend named Lauren. Alex has a really big house with a lot of cool stuff, so every week we would go over for a sleepover in her den. It would be me, her, Lauren, and a few other girls. Lauren started saying that she had a crush on Alex's dad, which we all thought was weird, but we kind of just ignored it. However, it started getting weirder when she started going into detail about wanting to be with him and have his children. Alex finally had enough and told her that it was going too far. She told her that if she kept saying things like this, then she wouldn't be able to come over anymore. It seemed like it got through to Lauren and everything was fine for a while. We eventually grew apart from Lauren, and even though we were still friends, she stopped hanging out with us over time. She would still talk about Alex's dad though, just not directly to Alex. At one point she even said she had given a BJ to him, but he wasn't even in the country when she said it happened. He was on vacation with Alex and her sisters at the time, so no one believed her. One day I went to a mall kind of far away with my brother and saw Lauren and Alex's dad together. They were being extremely affectionate, and I snapped a picture of them because he's still married. This is when my brother told me that it's not our business and we need to stay out of it. Storytime about the most outrageous thing I saw working as a waitress. A guy came in with his date one night, and throughout the evening he was the picture of courtesy and good manners. I appreciated it, but didn't delude myself that I was the source and figured he was just in a good mood because the date was going well. He was certainly in a celebratory mood because he was sparing no expense. He asked for our highest quality wine, she got our most expensive entree, and he even ordered one of every appetizer for her to sample when she made a remark that she was having trouble deciding. It was a real feast. So the evening starts wrapping up and I get their check. I asked if they'd be paying together or separate, and she starts to say separate, but he makes a big deal of saying, "Oh, are you kidding me? Together, definitely together. You never have to pay when you're with me, babe." Then he slides me his card. I get everything sorted and bring out the receipt. It's almost a $300 bill. He doesn't even blink and makes a big show, leaving a $100 tip. He thanks me for my service and emphasizes what a lovely night they've had. A tip that size is exceptional, so I thanked him profusely. He said there's no need and goes on to say how underappreciated waitstaff are and says, "Don't plan to tip, don't eat out, you know?" Looking at the mesmerized girl the whole time and not giving me a glance. After that, he helps her into her coat and they go off. However, not even a few minutes later, he comes back and what he says leaves me speechless.
Story time about how my boyfriend was plotting to kill me. So this was around my senior year in high school. Me and my friend Jessica were out at this restaurant and we ran into this really cute dude. My friend Jessica was like, "Girl, you should go over there and talk to him." Now, I usually didn't do this, but for this one, I made an exception. So I went over and asked his name. He told me his name was Mike. He was so charming and we exchanged numbers instantly. Now, we only exchanged numbers after talking for about 10 minutes. Once I got cool vibes from him, it was a wrap. Once I went back to my friend Jessica, I was so excited that I actually got his number and we started to text immediately. So I went home and we were texting and I was telling him about the school that I went to and just basic conversation. We texted all day into the night. So the next day he took me on a date and we went to this really nice restaurant. So that next Monday came around, I ran into Jessica and was telling her how much fun we had. That Monday at school, I ran into Jessica and she looked so disturbed, like for part 2. Part 3 about how my boyfriend was plotting to kill me. So like I said in part 2, I noticed stuff was kind of weird. Every time I woke up to check my phone, he was always up in the bed just staring at me. So one morning, I set my alarm 30 minutes earlier than I usually do so I can get up for school earlier. I noticed he wasn't in the bed, so I'm using my flashlight and I'm just walking around the room, looking in the closet, trying to find out where he went. So I checked the restroom, he's not in there. I checked the bed, under it, the closet, he's not there either. So as I'm walking down the stairs, he's coming up the stairs. He had boots on, a leather jacket, sweats, and gloves. He was holding a knife and he had a big trash bag with him. I was like, "Mike, what are you doing?" He says, "Oh, I just didn't want to wake you up, but I was getting ready to take the trash out early." Him having a knife did not make sense to me, so I turned around and I took off running upstairs. He then screamed, "Let me explain," while he was trying to stab me. I jumped out of the window in the bathroom, then later, once I got home, I found out his name wasn't even Mike and he was a serial killer.
My husband and I found out 2 months ago that we were expecting our first child. Last week, we officially announced it via text and phone calls to our friends and family. The next day at work, I found out that one of my coworkers had taken the photo of my sonogram I had sent them in the group text and posted it on her social media to fool her ex-boyfriend, who she broke up with a few weeks ago, into thinking she was pregnant. I never wanted my sonogram on the internet. I don't have a Facebook or an Instagram or anything like that, and I feel extremely uncomfortable that it's out there without me being able to control the audience of who was looking at it. When I had expressed to my coworker that I was upset, she said I was being, quote, dramatic, and I'm just looking for something to be upset over because I'm pregnant. She said she covered up the identity information and that it was only up for a few hours, and she told her ex-boyfriend the truth after making him sweat for a bit. Half of my friends are saying that I overreacted and it's just a harmless joke, while the other half says she completely stepped over the line. Are pregnancy hormones making me more upset about this than I should be?
Story time about the most embarrassing thing that's ever happened to me. My fiance Jack and I moved into a new house and decided to have a housewarming party. He invited his coworkers and his family, and I invited my mom and some girlfriends. I was a little nervous about Jack's family being there because I always felt like they didn't like me. I know he really wanted them there and he was proud of our new place, so I didn't make a fuss about it. I decided I'd try to make a good impression during the party. To my surprise, his parents came up to me and began talking to me straight away. They were being very nice and pleasant. Things seemed to be going well. Jack had just installed new surround sound speakers throughout the house and wanted me to put on some music to show it off. I had my phone hooked up to the TV and was playing music videos for the party. I remember Jack's parents loved Queen, so I put on a few of their videos next, which they enjoyed. Everything was going great. That's when I remembered I forgot to post my video that day for my OnlyFans, which was my main source of income. I excused myself from the party and went to the bedroom to upload my newest video. Jack and I worked hard on this one and it was freaky, so I was expecting it to be a hit. I was editing it and adding the finishing touches on my phone when suddenly Jack rushed into the room frantic. He immediately yelled, "Turn it off!" I looked at him confused and he said, "Your phone screen mirroring is hooked up to the TV and it's playing in the living room." My heart sank into my stomach and I was mortified. Part 2 of the most outrageous thing I saw while working as a waitress. So about 90 seconds later, he's back in the door without her, going, "I think I left my..." Then when the door shut and looking to make sure she was out of earshot, he goes, without the slightest shade of shame or embarrassment, "Mark the tip down to $20, hun. I was just playing it up for my date. You understand." Then turns to leave. I understood, but not how he hoped I would. However, I couldn't make a scene in the middle of work. That's not my place, so I just said one more time in order to give his conscience a chance to sink in. "Okay, sir, you'd like to amend your tip from $100 to $20, is that correct?" Even though I didn't show any displeasure in my voice, he shot back extremely hostile, "Yes, and if I see a cent over 20 on there, I'm going to dispute the whole meal with my credit vendor, so don't try to pull anything." The most frustrating part of this for me was not even going from over a 30% tip to a 10% tip, but rather that this poor girl was being strung along with no idea of who this guy was behind her back. It was extremely manipulative of him, which is a major red flag. I really wanted to show that girl the trick he just pulled, but I was at work and it wasn't my place. However, just in time, something occurred to me and I darted outside hoping to catch him in the parking lot.
Part 2 of how I saw my best friend's dad on a date with our ex-friend. I ended up telling Alex after school and showed her the picture. She immediately wanted to find Lauren and confront her, but once she calmed down, we decided to go to Alex's mom first. Her mom is an extremely calm woman, but when we told her and showed her the picture, she blew up. Apparently, Alex's dad had cheated on her mom before, and the girls he's been showing interest in have been getting younger and younger. She's had her suspicions for a while. She calls him and tells him that he needs to get home ASAP. When he arrives, she confronts him and he thinks that it was Lauren who added him, trying to cause issues in his marriage. He starts out by saying Lauren has been causing issues for years and making things up. When she told him it wasn't Lauren who added him and showed him the picture, he flipped out. Alex called me crying and I could hear her parents screaming at each other, so she came to stay with me and my family. Alex's mom kicked her dad out, said it was over, told him he's never seeing the kids again, and topped it off by telling him that she's calling the cops. After this, he started calling Alex and she answered the phone telling him to never call her again and then hung up. This is when Alex's mom calls Lauren's mom to tell her what's been going on.